Hello, and welcome to the Chapter Chat podcast. I'm your host, Emily Coates, the incoming VP of Communications for the Iowa Nebraska chapter. And in my day job, I am the marketing coordinator for Razor Holdings. And today I am thrilled to be joined by a few friends of mine as we discuss ACE. And we have a few winners on the call today. So to start off, we've got Darby Winger. Darby, hi.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we've got Miss Tiara Hogan. Hi, Tiara.
Hi, Emily. It's so good to be here.
Absolutely. Well, ladies, I'd love for you to kind of introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you do, what companies you're with, and kind of a little bit about yourselves. So, Tiara, kick us off.
Okay, starting with me. I'm Tiara Hogan, Marketing and Communications Manager for Team Klein. I've been with the organization for almost 2 years. I'm coming up on that 2-year mark. And a large majority of my job is not only the external marketing, but internal marketing. So ESOP events, any internal activation that we might have going on, volunteer activities. That's what me and my team work on.
Absolutely. Love to hear it. Yeah, I feel like you're in good company here. That explains a lot of what we all do. So, Darby, give us a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm Darby Winger. I'm the Marketing and Engagement Manager with Rennerneck Associates and the Stark Group. We've been an ESOP for more than 20 years, and I'm happy to say that I've been with Rennerneck 19 of those.
Absolutely awesome. Well, ladies, the reason we're here today is to talk about ACE. We've got 3 winners on the call. We're so pleased and proud to have Iowa, Nebraska represented in this way, and so we want to kind of dive into, what you guys won for, and talk a little bit about the process and how we got here, and just celebrate the incredible accomplishments that the chapter has had. So, Darby, tell us a little bit about what Rennerdact Stark Group won for this year at the ACE.
Sure. Well, I'm super excited to say we're actually a finalist for 2 awards, community engagement and series of events, and we ultimately took home the trophy for series of events.
Awesome. Tiro, how did Team Klein do?
Oh man, so we entered every category, which was a lot, but we ended up placing as a runner-up for our video in the large company segment, and then we ended up winning for intranet in the large company segment.
Absolutely. And well, I'm here to represent Razor Holdings. Razor also applied for several categories, which we'll get into, but we are proud to be a finalist for the internets in the small company category and ended up taking home that trophy finally this year. So Iowa, Nebraska swept that category. We'd love to see it. And so I'd love to hear more from you ladies about, what, you guys depicted in your submissions and kind of what the process was like, and kind of start from the beginning. So Darby, tell me about what the process was like to decide to even submit for ACE this year. Like, how did you kind of come to the decision to kind of put your name in the hat?
Well, I have to admit that we were encouraged strongly by some of our other employee owner friends in the corridor. So that helped, gave us some confidence there. So I gathered all the materials and I took a look at what categories we best fit. And it turned out that community engagement and series of events really fit what we had done in the last year well. And I felt like we had some strong submissions for those. So I started in it. I did procrastinate just a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
As we all do. It sneaks up on you, though. It really
It
does. It
does.
sneaks
It
up
really
on
does.
you.
But once I started, it was kind of exciting to relive what we did in the previous year, and it just made me so proud of the committee's work and our efforts in communicating how great being an ESOP and employee ownership really is.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is really your guys' first year, like, submitting, like, really, hardcore, and then to come home with a trophy and a runner-up, like, way to knock it out of the park day 1. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
we were super
absolutely.
excited about that. Hopefully, it wasn't beginner's luck.
No, I don't think so, and I think it's important to note, like, this was the toughest competition year ACE has ever seen with the most submissions, so, to have this much, accomplishment from the Iowa, Nebraska chapter really says a lot, I think, and says we're doing something right. So, Tiara, tell me about your guys' submission and kind of how that all came to be, and had you been a part of a submission before, and, kind of give us the details.
Yeah, so it was Team Klein's first year submitting any awards as well. I think after we went to the conference last year and attended the awards and saw the categories, we felt really pumped and motivated because we were able to say, oh my gosh, this, would fit for this and this would fit for that. So it was kind of just a clear decision to go ahead and enter what we had. When it came to intranet, that one I left that award ceremony kind of a little more knowledgeable about what an intranet was, but I still was like, "Ugh, I don't really know what that means until it came time to actually put the information together. And it really just that light bulb moment went off. And I thought, wow, the Facebook community group, although I was a bit skeptical because it's just a Facebook community group. The more I dug into it and saw how we were using it, it really made sense. Knowing that internet at its core is sharing resources and being able to communicate with each other, that's how we were using it. So that's kind of how it been. I'll be honest, I was a bit surprised seeing the winners last year. I felt most of them had like web pages or coded things, like really intricate things, and I'm like, oh, we don't have any of that stuff. But we just kind of used our resources and what we had. So I was happy, but definitely I was a little surprised, but excited to win that one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think internet can mean a lot of things. And I think we felt the same way, submitting our app Beekeeper because we're like, it's not a SharePoint site like everybody else has. It's very different. And like, yes, it's our one-stop shop, but like it looks different, so we're like, I don't know. And we were runner up for that category last year. Didn't end up bringing home the hardware on that one. And so we were like, I don't know, but it's worth, throwing your hat in the ring because you never know. And, for some context for folks listening, the ACE, there's a new set of judges pretty much every year. So it is a little bit subjective. So what might not have won, the year previously could win the next year. You just never know. So even if you don't win or even get finalists, it's worth submitting, kind of revamping your submission and just sending it again because you just never know what might hit, and what the competition looks like. And as long as you're really promoting the employee ownership aspect and your brand, you're going to have a chance for sure. So, yeah, I mean, so tell me a little bit about, I mean, like for me, like, we submitted 5. I can't believe y'all took on 7 tier. Like I about keeled over with 5. Um, as the marketing coordinator, I was just like, and that was my own doing. I was determined to do that, so I can't complain to anybody else. But it is an undertaking, right? Like there is work to be put into it if you want to do it right. It's a physical process because you have to put the binder together. This year we decided to tackle and do the posters, which are also recommended. We hadn't in the past, and after being runner up twice last year, I looked at Angie Hoover, our COO, my boss, and I was like, we have to do it all. Like I was like I was so against the posters for so long, and I was like, well, now we have to because if it's gonna get me the win, dang it, like I just had to go all in. And I was like, if I do all the work and I don't get it, then I was like, I've done everything I can, so that was the relief of bringing something home was very, very relieving, and it was nice. But yeah, it does take a lot of work. So tell me a little bit about what your guys' process was, and did you guys have team members that could support that, or was it kind of like you kind of one man show, or tell me a little bit about that. Darby, what was that process like for you and kind of the workload that you had to take on to put these together?
Sure. I think the part of the process that took the longest was just gathering the information. I always thought I was pretty organized, but this maybe taught me how I could improve in the future. Uh, but finding the materials I wanted to include, making sure it represented our actions best, and then try to put that all together, write up the document, edit, rewrite, lay it out, make it, aesthetically pleasing, all of that. So that kind of falls under my role in the company. So I was happy to do that. And then I too was not a big fan of the display boards, gotta admit. So I was relieved that I did have someone here in the office, another committee member, Faith Janczak. She was a great help putting those together and took that off my plate. I had kind of spent all of my creative juices doing the binders, and she really stepped up and helped with that part of it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Tiara, tell us a little bit about your work process and getting this all together.
Yeah, so for us, it started with a small committee kind of just deciding what we were going to enter in the different categories. And then it trickled down into myself and one other individual doing the actual crafting and putting binder pages together. We submit our essay portion, if that's what we would refer to it as, kind of in a magazine layout. So it wasn't just written in a Word document. And so there was like the design portion and also the trifold portion which is where we got a lot of hot glue gun burns and, a lot of cutting. So it kind of, it was a group effort, but there weren't a lot of us, and it definitely was taxing. It was a long weekend to do the trifolds. That was kind of the last portion of it, but that was our process.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great when it can be committee driven, right? And that was our goal, last year going into it. We'd submitted for ACE throughout the years and just never really hit the mark. We kind of just thrown some things at it and hadn't really kind of come together with a focus on things. And so we in 2022, 2023, I guess it would have been, had taken it to the committee in strategic planning and said, hey, like, do we want to go for this? And like, what do you guys think? And they're the ones who picked, the internet category initially because they really felt like our app was worth talking about. And I think there was a lot to be learned from our committee employee owners who, they're in the field using it. And so they were able to pinpoint for us, what makes it unique and what they like about it and why they feel like it's award worthy. And so that was really great to get them involved. And then, this year again, like you said, Tier, when you see everything at Vegas, when you're at the awards, you can just see them and like interact with them even, because they put them out after. You learn so much and you're able to really kind of, you just don't know what you don't know until you see it. And so immediately we were already making a list of like, no, we have this that works for this. We have this that works for this. We have this that works for our friends at Render Next. And we have this that, we were like already like, okay, here's who's going to submit for what and this, because we're like, no, we can see it now. We're like, okay, we get it. So that really is impactful, I think. Even if you haven't submitted, you're not going to submit, to be able to see it at Vegas does really make an impact, I think. And so speaking of Vegas, were you guys both at Vegas then? Did you guys both get to go? Okay, so I sat this one out because I could not be disappointed again if that was the way it was going to go. We sent our CFO Brent Borman in our place to be there, and of course, when we don't show up is when we win. But what was that like being in Vegas and hearing your name called and kind of getting to celebrate that? And Darby, you guys had a whole crew there. What was that like to be able to
We did.
celebrate with your team?
Oh, it was so exciting. Such an honor, to be a finalist in two categories. And the first one was community engagement, which we didn't win. So, we kind of had a little disappointment the first round, but we had like two more categories to go before we were up again. And it's pretty obvious that they read the information for the runner up first. And so when they started doing a series of events, they were reading stats that were, or information that wasn't from our submission. And so we all started looking around the table and you could just see the excitement build. And we're like, oh my gosh, we won. And it was just amazing. Just a great feeling to go up on stage and accept that trophy. It just, again, made me so proud of our committee and all their hard work they do all year long for communicating ESOP benefits and employee ownership. I just felt like it just cemented the fact that their work really does matter. And, it was just an honor. So cool.
Love that. Love that for you guys. Tira, what was it like for your team to kind of bring that on home?
Gosh, I would say, in the beginning, because we did submit so many, and, the things I thought would be recognized weren't. So I was surprised, a little bit bittersweet. But then, of course, getting there, it just started to kind of sink in that even if you don't win any of these, just to be recognized, especially for the first time ever trying, is huge. So I was content if we didn't take anything, but similar to what Darby mentioned, when they started to kind of explain or do the description around it, I was like, oh my gosh, I think it's us guys. And, we're all kind of getting ready to go up on stage. And then, just to see our company's name on the big screen. And I felt really proud and excited to do it all over again and take on some more ideas. So it was amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is a national stage. You're going up against some of the best across the country. Obviously, yes, there is that delineation of large company versus small company, but like that still doesn't really narrow it down all that much in the grand scheme of things. You're still up against some serious competition. So it says a lot about your companies and what you're doing to be able to bring that home and to be able to share that. And obviously, I think and maybe you guys agree, but like it was such a learning process. You really like to be able to put it all together was really eye-opening for us. Like I said, I really was not excited about the poster boards. But by happenstance, we ended up sort of accidentally ordering 2 sets. So we sent 1 set for our submission. We ended up keeping a set here. And I will tell you, those things have been so used because being able to see it in that format for our employee owners, like you forget all the things that you do throughout the year and then to be able to put it together. So we ended up displaying them at our annual employee owner event in June, and people, were like, "Wow, like we forgot that we had done all of this stuff," and like, "Oh wow, like we actually like do have some cool things going on." And like so and we've taken them to Kansas City. They've been they're great for when visitors come in, like they've been displayed for a lot of people. And who knew that that they're that was one of our big takeaways is like if you're gonna do it and put it all together and take time to do it, make a double copy because it's worth keeping for yourself, for your own marketing, as you're talking to clients, as you're talking to your own employee owners, as you're talking to vendors, because yeah, you put in the work, like, and it's beautiful, so like you might as well enjoy it for yourself rather than just send it off and never see it again. Even if you don't get a finalist or a winner, like you put in the work and you've done the process. So because yeah, it is a process. And so like you said, there's so much that you guys probably learned too through it and putting it together. So I just love to hear from you guys now looking back. What would you tell other people who are considering applying for an ACE, or what kind of advice would you have about the journey that you guys have been on with this? And what would you tell folks who are interested in learning more about how to really get their ACE up on the map? Darby, start with you.
Sure. I would say document, document, document. Uh, when I was putting these things together, there were times where I was like, oh, I wish I had just a few more pictures or different angles, or I wish I would have emphasized employee ownership in that post just a little bit more, to really bring it home, things like that. But make sure you have the material to work with in the beginning. And if you're ever in the situation where you think you have enough pictures of something, take a few more. I promise you won't regret it. You'll probably thank yourself for it later. And also, these things do take time, so don't leave it until the last minute.
There you go. There you go. Tiara, how about you? Like, what would your advice be, or kind of what words of wisdom would you share with folks?
Yeah, I would say if you're familiar with, just the ACE awards and the categories, you have some sort of knowledge, then I would recommend doing it for myself. Submitting these categories for a year that I had only been employed for half of the time. Um, it was tough, but it also taught me so much, not only about ESOP, but ESOP at our organization and how important it is. And even just going through the different prompts for the essay portion, one of them was about feedback forms, and how we come to decisions around what events will take place or if the intranet platform is working. I thought that one was huge for me because I think it kind of set the tone for moving forward and understanding that, yeah, when we make decisions for events, we do need to try to get as much feedback as possible. I mean, that in itself is kind of the biggest thing about being employee owned is everyone's voice being heard. So that was a huge one. And I don't think had I not entered those submissions, it really would have marinated in how I execute, for internal activations in the future. So I would say do it, because even if you don't win, you're going to learn so much about your organization, but it'll also teach you what to do moving forward. Just reading through those prompts and saying, wow, I never even considered that, in my day to day. But even outside of that, it taught me, not just for the ACE Awards, but I think just in general, do those things, implement those things just for the company and the sake of the growth of employees and the team understanding your employee owned culture. So I would say, even if you don't want to send in a submission, if you read the guidelines, you're gonna have ideas for what to incorporate into your day to day stuff. So, and also start very early. As early as possible, I would say go ahead and do that, because yeah, it is tough to gather everything. But again, if you're kind of just moving through your daily motions and planning with those thoughts in mind of feedback and stuff, it won't maybe be as hard as it was for myself to gather everything, because they're already really lined up, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. Gather the feedback, take the pictures, have your company logo, have employee ownership front and center, and you'll be setting yourself up for success. Absolutely. And yeah, give yourself the time. But yeah, I love that tier. I think it's a really great exercise, whether just for yourself, if you're a comms person, for your committee, to get ideas from. Obviously, look at previous winners if you're looking for ideas of activities or things to do or ways to improve your education. Again, these are some of the best, and well worth, stealing from if you can. And we certainly don't mind. That's the beauty of the ESOP community, is it's a very sharing and caring community. So that's what it's all about. So absolutely. Well, ladies, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day to chat with me about ACE. Again, I'm so proud to be a part of this group of winners and to have Iowa Nebraska chapter represented. I heard tell they were getting a little sick of hearing Iowa Nebraska chapter at the AACE Awards, and I think that we just should continue that. Let's continue that, so that you just continue to be sick of us every year, because we're just that good. Can't be denied. So, but yeah, absolutely. And of course, if you have questions about the ACE, or what our processes were like, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. Again, we're always here to share. If we don't have the answer, we have a lot of ACE winners and ACE submission folks. We have judges amongst our ranks in the chapter that would be happy to chat with you and share their insight. We're looking to get a chapter sweep somewhere again in at least one category, if not multiple. We got one category. Let's get multiple sweeps categories. Like let's make that happen. That as a goal. I love that. So. Or you can always look at the ESOP Association chapter website, the ACE website there, find the guidelines, the submission schedule will be opening up soon. I'm sure it's a little bit of a wonky schedule and what fits and what doesn't, because it's not technically by the calendar. It's like March to April. So, keep that in mind. But you can always get started on it now and start thinking about it. And those guidelines and prompts are out there for you to start percolating on and getting those ideas going. So, again, thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. We sure appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.